Ulang. Kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame bante buri panya tathagata kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame dhamma sanditika akalika kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame sangga supatipana anuttara sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tisarana gamanang paripunang panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adina dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Nacha Gita Wadita Visukadasana Malaganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatthana Veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Uccasayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Idang me silang Magapala Nyanasa Pachayo Hotu Appamadena Sampadeta. Sadhu, sadhu. We do a short guided metta before we start the Q&A. Now we sit here let go of all the planning, all the thoughts. Keep the mind present, calm, peaceful, here and now. Let the body relax. Whatever tension from top of the head, we let it go. Down to the forehead and face, the neck and shoulders, to the arms, to the chest area, stomach area, the spine, to the buttocks, hips, the thighs and knees, the calves, the ankles and soles and toes. So relax the body. May I be free from all kinds of harm and danger, free from all mental suffering, free from all physical suffering. May I be peaceful. May I be able to live in peace with myself and in peace with others. May I be well. May I be healthy. And may I truly be happy. Now let us expand the metta to all the beings around you. May they be monks or nuns, fellow yogis, Dharma workers, helpers, volunteers, to the sponsors, to the donors, to the guardian devas of this center, to all the devas in this neighborhood, to all the petas and to all the animals, big, small, seen or unseen. May all of us here be free from all kinds of harm and danger, free from all mental suffering, free from all physical suffering. May we all be peaceful. May we all be well. Be healthy. And may we all truly be happy. Now let us expand, reaching out our metta to all beings in this world. May they be our loved ones near or far away, or those people whom we do not know, or those whom we dislike, or those who dislike us. To all the devas, to all the guardian devas of the Buddha Sasana, to all other devas residing in this world, to all the petas, and to all the animals, big, small, far or near, seen or unseen. May all beings in this world be free from all kinds of harm and danger, free from all mental suffering, free from all physical suffering. May all beings in this world able to live in peace and not in war, live with kindness and compassion, and not in cruelty or violence. May all beings be well. May they all be healthy. And may they all truly be happy. Now let us expand our metta without border, without condition, to all beings in this universe or universes, to all beings from the highest planes of existence down to the lowest planes, and to all beings, to all the in all the world systems. All beings without exception be free from all kinds of harm and danger, free from all mental suffering, free from all physical suffering. May all beings able to live in peace with themselves and in peace with others. May they all be well, be healthy, and may they all truly be happy. May they all be peaceful. May they all be well. And may all beings truly be happy. Now let us let go of the metta. We'll bring the mind back to the present. Feel the rise and fall of the abdomen. Feel the body. Then we can slowly open our eyes. All right. So tonight there's a number of questions. Okay, let me start with a. Okay, now question one. What is the difference between noting mind and investigative mind? During noting, when do investigative mind step in? Uh, Now, I think some of you may have not listened to some of my talks. Usually, when it comes into the retreat, I talk a lot on the noting mind. And the noting mind and investigative mind, these are the two similar terms. They are the same term. Now, the investigative, we use the word investigative, like in the Dhamma Vichaya, investigation of Dhamma. I mean, when you use the investigation of Dhamma, there's different level of investigation. Investigation through thinking, reflection, that you, after you have read and so on, or you heard. During this time, during that time, you can think and so on. But when you are in the Vipassana retreat, while you are paying attention to your objects thoroughly, carefully, that time, make sure you don't bring in the thinking mind in. That type of investigative, the way you use the word investigative in. And for example, some yogis, they note something, they want to think, what is it? Now, for example, like they think what they want to think whether they are noticing wind element or earth element, or is it this the first insight, or is it the second insight, or this is what state of mind, which cetasika that we are noting right now. Yeah. So don't start to think about it and use the word as investigative. That is not the way how vipassana to be done. Yeah. So vipassana to be done is that when you are walking, sitting, and when you are noting your objects, you just squarely pay attention to whatever that is going on in front of you, not by thinking about them. The moment you start thinking about them, then the meditation will slow down for that duration, for the thinking. So the way that I use the word investigative, we use it in a sense of noting mind, penetrative mind, thorough mind, closely pay attention to your objects. These are the things that the way that I use it. Perhaps other teachers may use the word investigative in a different term. Yeah? So because they have their own definition. But my definition for me, investigative, when we are actually doing the practice, it's squarely pay attention. So when you go back, let's say when you go back and then you want to research on the Dhamma, investigative also in that way, but that is thinking level. Yeah? So that one you applied it when you're at home, when you're out there. So that is perfectly okay. But when you are in a retreat, try not to do that as much as possible. Of course, once in a while, the Dhamma may comes up, but don't attach to it for too much. Then let it go. Then back to your meditation again, object of your meditation. Then the progress will go further. Okay. Next question. Question 2. For experiencing of insight knowledge, does the experience go in accordance with the order as insight number 1, number 2, etc., or it can happen randomly? Yeah? For experiencing of insight knowledge, does the experience go in accordance with the order as insight number 1, number 2, etc., or it can happen randomly? Yeah? Nothing happens randomly one. In Vipassana. You don't make an effort, nothing come out one. There's no such thing as random nibbana. Might as well random nibbana rather than insight number 1, number 2, There's no such thing. Yeah. Yogis have to go through all this type of, uh, in terms of theory right now, if you are talking in terms of theory, as I said again and again, insight number 1, insight number 2, number 3, and so on. These are very gradual development. When you are practicing, when you're actually practicing, you don't even know that what insight you are in. You don't really know that. Then suddenly meditate, then the labeling come out, insight number 1. Or lai liao, gao liao. Yeah? Like you drive, you drive past through Ipoh. Yes, the Ipoh sign come out, But this one, no. They don't have all this thing coming out and tell it to you. So it's very, very gradually, everything just go through. As I said, every moment that you pay attention, as your mind is clear, mind is balanced, and you watch all your objects, every single noting is insight. And they are, in a way, they are insight. They are insight knowledge. And as I said again and again, whatever that you're experiencing at the present moment, they become the next, it's for the next condition, it's the next moment. So that way, that object that you know, then it becomes for the next moment, and you keep on building up, and things become slightly different, they repeat themselves and so on. All this, we call it insight. So don't over attach to the knowledge, the insight, which insight, and so on. Because sometimes yogis, they begin to overestimate themselves. That means they are not there yet. They think that they're near nibbana liao. That overestimation. And a lot of yogis are like that now. It's not so easy to know exactly where you are, but once in a while, perhaps the yogi is sharp enough, yes. But while you are still putujana, let's say, if you are still not enlightened yet, don't worry which insight that you're in. You just meditate, got enlightened. You hit enlightenment, everything is going to repeat again. So that time, exactly, your mind is much more sharper than the level of the insight that you have seen through. They will repeat themselves all over again, but in more distinct manner. At that time, which insight that you are in, you exactly know how is the formation of that particular insight. So, don't worry just meditate. Now, although when we say that insight now, it builds up one after another. Within all the internally here, it's actually by noticing the perception of anatta or anicca or dukkha. They all keep on impacting upon you because you see the things as they really are. Now, sometimes, although sometimes you may add the lower insight, Or sometimes, for example, sometimes you observe certain way of how an object is moving, uh, how a certain object is moving. Then suddenly you remember, hey, this one I think I've seen it before in the past. I've seen it before in the past, but in the past, although I've seen it, but it was not so clear. It's just like somewhere in the background. It was there, but at that time it was not clear. Other other patterns of the object or other characteristic was clearer. So it just come like somewhere in the fringe, in the at the background and so on. It doesn't come as a very prominent object. So 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 somehow you catch hold of you know that it's there, but after some time you develop, then that particular thing becomes much more prominent. The one that is at the background, and after some time it come out and become very clear. Then you're thinking, how come I didn't note that one clearer? Because when you are not ready for it, you're not ready for it. It won't show you more. It will show you what is going to be there. So sometimes insights it may show you a little bit here and there, but it's not a prominent thing yet. It doesn't impact upon you at that moment. Yeah? So later on, that particular thing becomes even more clearer, sharper, much more prominent. Yeah? So something like that. They overlap here a little bit, there a little bit. But generally, the insight goes from theoretically from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then slowly all go up. This insight, this the nature of this insight knowledge as you practice. One thing good about Vipassana is that comparative to jhana, is that the jhana, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, you can, you can drop the jhana in the sense that if you don't meditate the samatha, if you don't repeat entering into the jhana again and again, then those jhana you cannot enter after some time. Like for example, like you cannot you have to restart everything again. Let's say even you have first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. Then after let's say a year you don't meditate for those things. Then after that, when you want to restart again, then you got to restart number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, all over again. But to them to restart again, it's much more easier because they have the skills. All they need to do is the mind is to calm down. They have a place to meditate. They do go into a retreat, and then very quickly the mind can able to reach the first jhana, then second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana later on. Yeah, as the time goes. But in the vipassana, you don't have to do like that. Vipassana, let's say in theory, that you meditate until, let's say you finish fifth jhana, then you go back. Oh no, not fifth jhana. You finish fifth insight. Yeah. Let's say you go back with fifth insight. And then next round you come back. As long as you build up all your faculties again, your mind comes into balance again and clear and sharp again after a number of days, and then that particular insight will repeat itself again. That means you don't have to go all the way back, start all over again. Then you start that from there, and then you got the time, you just keep continue and you progress. This is the nature of the Vipassana insight. So as I said, not to overthink about all these type of insight. As long as you keep paying attention to all these things, they are insight, they are insight knowledge, and they are Vipassana. And just keep going and you will reach enlightenment, hopefully. Yeah. Okay. Next question. All right. Can Bhante please suggest ways where a yogi introduce some pity or joy into the meditation, especially in a long retreat situation? The objective is being to confront the mind. Can Bhante please suggest ways where a yogi introduce some pity or joy into meditation, especially in a long retreat situation? Yeah. Now, in a long retreat situation, it can be very tough for, especially for those who gone through the first time. Is it 3 months considered long retreat? Huh? Huh? It all depends. It all depends. Yeah, yeah. How one yogi may see it differently. Yeah. Now, will the long retreat, let's say, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of overcoming a lot of fear, and also you have to abandon a lot of your desire and your likings and attachments and family and your career and your whatever, that things that is very close to you. And these kind of things, although you abandon them in the sense of seclusion of the body, that means you're far away from them. Yeah? But nevertheless, sometimes during in the retreat, this type of attachment comes in also. Yeah? We may have a what we call kaya viveka. Kaya viveka means seclusion of the body. But we are missing one thing is what we call the chitta viveka. Viveka is seclusion. Chitta is the mind. That means sometimes, although we are far away from people, but our mind is not very far from them. The mind is very close to our job, very close to our people that we love. After 2 or 3 months, also still that strong. After that, by the time you think about it, ayo, then you get angry, then you get fear, then you cry, then whatever. Uh, so, so the nature of this state of mind, it's going to be very challenging in the long retreat. While we are in a long retreat, then not every day you have a good practice, especially if you are a beginner. You know, or if you are not going very deep yet, you may have gone through a number of retreats. You may start off your meditation since 1990, let's say, 40 years ago, let's say, 20, 30, 40 years ago, let's say. But even 40 years, let's say you started off, but your progress of your insight is not very far. That means maybe just first insight or second insight, somewhere around there. Because some people are just that slow. But they have faith to keep on practicing. You know? So therefore, they gone into this insight, they go into these retreats, and then a lot of times all the mind gets nothing to see. Then after that, every time meditate, then objects kind of like drop away, mind not clear, mind not then dull, then thinking, then sometimes get clear. Then when it's clear, you notice a little bit more. Then it gets like boring already. Nothing new. Same old thing. Right step, left step, lifting, pushing, very cold. Lifting, pushing, cold. More cold, less cold. That's about, and then it gets so boring. No, nothing there. So when it happens, If a yogi feel bored, there's no rapture, there's no joy in the practice. You know? So how are we going to build up on those type of things? How are we going to build up that type of joy? Now, in the practice of vipassana, the joy here is where we call it a pleasurable interest on your object. Sometimes your noting of your mind is not all the time there's you're interested in your object and really want to pay attention to it. Sometimes the object is just very neutral and you just keep observing on it. But so once in a while, it gets interesting. So when it gets interesting, then the and then your whole mind becomes alive again. Your whole alertness, your whole the whole mind gets refreshed. The bottom is just like it's gone. Yeah. So so that in that way, the mind drops all the boredom and lack of interest. But how are we going to bring the mind into that state? How are we going to bring the mind that it has that interest in noticing the object? Uh, uh, There's a number of things that we can do. Yeah, a number of things. Although we talk about it in the past, I mean, those who have not here before, if you are going back next time and in the future, then we can go back to some of the talks on joy. I'm just here is just summarizing it a bit, condense it. When you want to look for interest in the objects of your meditation, then it's always good that you are skillful in all objects of the meditation. All objects. That means you're not just only a skillful in learning how to do watching rising falling, but you must also have the skills in how to note the pain. You must be skillful in noticing how to do the sitting and touching and the variation of doing the sitting and touching. You must be skillful also in noting the state of mind. When the anger comes in, you catch hold of it. Boredom comes in, you know it. When the desire comes in, you know it. When the mind is alert, you know it. When the mind is dull, you know it. Sluggish, you know it. So you know how to catch the mind. You know how to catch your feelings. You have to know how to catch your sensation of your body and things like that. And in the walking, also the same thing. You must know how to catch your primary object. In what ways the skills of how to do the primary, the noticing the primary object. Then also you must be skillful in noticing the secondary objects. The secondary object, because primary objects, whether in the sitting or walking, primary objects may not be there all the time. It may not be clear all the time. Sometimes it's there but not so clear. Sometimes totally not there. Yeah? Rising, falling may not be there all the time, not so clear. So we take up secondary objects and try to notice the secondary objects in its various manner. Secondary objects in the walking, like for example, your knees are moving, or your thighs are moving, or your hips are moving, or your shoulders is moving, or sometimes your hands are warm, you're sweating, or something bite you, and so on. Yeah? Then those are secondary objects. And those objects, in the sense that, or even in the um, daily activities, also the same thing. Not just only trying to report to me about eating and eating every time eating, reporting, but sometimes report about how do you do your bowing down? How do you do that? How do you pay attention to all the sensation there? How do you actually comb the hair? If you have the hair. Got to make it right. If you still have the hair, then how you do it? If you don't have hair, then not applicable. Or how you wear your shirt, or how you remove them, and whatever small little tiny things. Those things that we take for granted, you pay attention to it a little bit more when you are in the day after day. Some days you may notice some of the things, another day you may notice another thing, another day you want to notice how you do your laundry. I remember sometimes in my retreat, my own retreat, I sort of like today, I set a mind, okay, today I want to do the laundry, I do it mindfully. Not, I didn't promise myself every day, but on that particular day, I do it more effort, put in more effort to notice what is going on. Then another day, I put in today bowing down. Take note of it, how to bow down. Another day, my eating session. Another day, how to open the door. Another day, do something else. And then after some time, the mind is quite used to all these things. Then when it comes into the daily activities, then it becomes skillful in just by opening the door. Not just like we casually open, but how the mind if react to it, how the intention that comes in, and how the hands are moving, and then how the touching and so on. With all these small little things, then we put attention to it more a little bit. Then you'll be surprised that there's a lot of things that you can notice. Uh, there are a lot of things that we so happen to neglect it in our practice. Then these small little things, it becomes much more intensify and become clear. And when it becomes clear, then the interest is there. Automatically, the interest is there. The joy of notice of the object becomes clear. If you don't do that, you every day do the same thing, and you just open the door, go to toilet, you do your business there, finish and then quickly come out. No, no lah. If nobody waits for you then pay attention to all its sensation, pay attention to all the touch and how the mind reacts to it. Then you find that there's so many things for you to notice, so many things for you to see. And with that, the joy arises. The interest in the noting arises, even in the daily activities. Even the walking, also the same thing. A lot of times, yogis tend to know what is right step, left step, lifting, pushing, dropping. And even sometimes you can repeat all the, how many, sometimes yogi do 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps. They repeat what is 4 steps. I also cannot remember what they wrote down there. I also forgot. Lifting, threading, no, lifting, raising, treading, dropping, touching, stepping, something like that. 6 steps already, this one. So you remember all these steps. I'm not saying that it's not good. It's good. Because the primary object itself, you need to pay close attention to it. Then you may notice a lot of things that is happening in the object. If you just notice it surfacely only, just lifting, pushing, dropping, then perhaps you may not see much of things. But if you pay attention to it closely, sometimes even the pushing itself, there may be other sensation that's coming in. Perhaps there's a swing, there's a push, there's it goes higher, it goes lower a little bit, it goes faster a little bit, slower a little bit. All these small little variations, if you pay attention to them, become very clear. Then after that, if sensation of the leg, if they are not so strong, not so clear, and then it gets nothing much, that is where you begin to notice your secondary objects. You pay attention to how the patterns of your knees are moving, how the knees are moving in what way. You just continue walking, but noticing how all other sensation. Then noticing like sometimes your body sideways a little bit, or your body straight, or your sensation of the body arises. Sometimes some pressure arises. Even if you're mindful of the walking, even there's some pressure in the back arises. Normally, if you're carefully noticing, we don't just go and straighten up the body and just let go of the pressure like that. So even the pressure with that too, that it happens and it doesn't disturb the noting, we still carry on and notice that little pressure and we hold on to it. If it's not so prominent, we just keep noting. Not like every time bosong only you bosong, especially the hands. After that, you bosong, you put here. Then after that, you put here. Then after you put that. Then one half a length, you already change your hand. By the time you move, how many times are your hand? How many times it move already? So, but we don't pay attention to those things. You see, we neglect on these small things. Yeah. So, so usually, I mean, if you are strict in your walking meditation, if your body can take it, yeah, then if you put your hands at one place, that means you have to be there for you have to be put your hands there until the 1 hour finish. Yeah. It's just like walking, it's just like sitting meditation. You fold the leg there, you don't move the leg as best as you can already, unless it's really necessary. So to walking also, the same principle. You put your hands there, then you walk for that 1 hour until you finish. Whether sweat, biting, and all that, you tahan. Strictly speaking, but can me yo? Not so easy after like that. Then that time not mindful already. Then after that, walking, then you try to notice again. You see, all these small little things you're not noticing. But of course, if you still happen, you want to move the hands a little bit, then take extra notice on it. See how the hands are moving, see how the shoulders are moving, see how this one is moving. Then with that, when you pay attention to those type of things, actually, although the body may feel unpleasant or it's a bit tired or tension here and there, but the mind is still interested noticing of whatever is going on there. So it's quite, in a way, it's quite good. So learning to take up your various objects and be skillful in them, then this type of uh, sort of joy and so on, it will come in. The more that you can be continuous into noticing, then objects tend to become clearer and objects tends to become sharper. You can notice naturally more things, more variations. Sometimes it repeats itself, but even when it repeats itself, your mind is not get bored. So that means that there is the noticing is still in its optimum condition. But what other ways that we can do besides noticing on this object? Now, some people, they are more faith-based, especially. Then, for example, if they recollect, they set a time. For example, they set a time, like for example, in the beginning of their sitting. They take one part of the day. They do, for example, mudita. You recollect mudita on the appreciative joy of the success or the things that you have gained in the past, in the present, or in the future, whether spiritual or material gains that you have done. And then you rejoice in your own gains. If that sometimes it brings about happiness, that joy in us. This is a direct joy, but this is not in the way of vipassana, but this joy later part, and also let's say in the mudita, you expand it to the people around you. Then may all the yogis here, may they all be successful, may they all able to develop, may they all their spiritual gains lead them to nibbana. It kind of like we rejoice in their development, in their endeavor, in their effort, So with that, now sometimes it brings us joy. Instead of jealousy and instead of looking down on others, instead of conceit, but it brings us joy. So you sit there for a while, you contemplate on these things, you reflect on these things, then it gives you joy. Or it gives you joy to the people, to the beings around you, seen or unseen beings, or whole world, or all the beings in everywhere, all planes of existence. Then you reflect towards them, whatever their gains may not disappear. May all their gains able to increase, for their happiness, for their joy, for their spiritual growth, something like that. So we did mudita somewhere lah, in the past 2 months ago, 1 month ago, somewhere we did for 2 weeks, I think so. And it brings about joy. So when you're able to bring some joy in that, using that way, then you let go of the mudita, you bring that joy, because the joy is a kind of alertness, a kind of activeness of the mind. You bring that joy, you put it into your rising and falling, you put it into your sitting, touching, you put it into lifting, pushing, dropping. Then you see that all the objects then becomes alert and clear. Yeah? So it's, in a way, it's interesting. Yeah? Or you can also, some people do the reflection on the qualities of the Buddha. Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Or, and also, so not all, and also like your generosity, your reflection on generosity, reflection on virtue, sila, and reflection on the qualities of the deities, of the devas. Yeah? You reflect, so what are the qualities of the Buddha? Then you recall what are the qualities. Samma Sambuddha, Arahang, Samma Sambuddha, these type of qualities. So you recall. So you recall it for a few of the qualities, the Samma Sambuddha. Then you must know the meaning of Samma Sambuddha. What is the meaning? So you must know its meaning. Then the meaning gives you the joy. If you don't know the meaning, you are just parroting on it. What is an Arahant? So what is an Arahant? Then you also have to know what is an Arahant. What is a Samma Sambuddha? You must know what is Samma Sambuddha. All these type of qualities, you have to know them in order to bring you joy. So qualities of the Dhamma, qualities of the Sangha, qualities of your giving. Like for example, in the past you have done dana or katina, so you can able to recall it back. For a while, you recall it back and you reflect on the dana that you have done, generosity, and that joy that you have, then later part, you drop it away, you bring that joy into the noting mind, into the meditation. Then it become helpful. Things like this. There are also the text also mentioned that you must, this type of joy also, you must be careful of the people that you mix with. The people that you mix with, if you mix with them for a long period of time, let's say you mix with people with kind of like, they have happiness in the Dhamma. They find happiness in the Dhamma. They find happiness in doing dana, happiness keeping their sila, happiness in doing meditation. These type of people, it would be good if you mix with them. But if you find the type of people that they find happiness in a lot of worldly things, a lot of worldly attachments and so on, entertainment, this type of things, then this type of joy is a very worldly joy and it gives rise to a lot of restless mind. uh. So it's always better to find those you mix with the people with having certain joy in the Dhamma. That would be very good. Uh, and also not violent people and so on. Yeah? Very rough in their ways of their character and so on. And you should not should not go near them too much, because you go near them for too long, you also become like that. Yeah? So this is something that we can arouse the joy in the practice. One is, as I said, through the vipassana, is you learn to notice a lot of learn how to watch a lot of your objects, or the skills in noting a lot of objects, not only just the primary object. And also, like samatha, a little bit of samatha way, in the sense of mudita, in the sense of reflection of the qualities of the Buddha. Yeah? So these type of things, it does bring us joy in the retreat, in the meditation. Yeah? Okay, next question. Is perception one of the key causes of our defilements to arise? Is mindfulness the only way to identify and correct our perceptions? Is perception only is is perception, the word sanya, one of the key causes of our defilements to arise? Is mindfulness the only way to identify and correct our perception? Okay. Perception, sanya. Yeah. What is this sanya? Sanya here, sanya is always there, and yet we do not know it. Yeah. Like, for example, you look at the eye sanya, let's say. You look at the person. How come you immediately know the person already? How do you know exactly the person is who they are? Just by looking at them. Because the sanya marks, it marks its form, the shape, the eyes, the shape, the hair, the way that the person move and so on, exactly who they are. Let's say from far, you see the person, you already don't know who is it coming, or who is it going, or who is passing through. Because the eyes mark on them already. The eyes already, all the shape and form and so on, is already captured onto it already. Uh, so for example, you listen to a music. The moment you listen to that music, because in the past, you already know that music. So in the present, when it happens, immediately you already know who is the singer. You know even the lyrics also. You know what's coming already. Yeah? Like, for example, in the past, when you use not the mobile phone, you use the tabletop phone. You, when it rings, you do not know who they are. But the moment you listen to the voice, you exactly know who they are. Without nowadays mobile phone, before you hear, everything comes out first. So those days you already know exactly just by listening to the voice, because the sound, the certain frequency, the certain sound, you know exactly who they are. You already mark the person because of that sound, who the person is already. Uh, uh, uh. Or even like you hear a certain sound, you know it's Chikada there. Very loud sometimes. Yeah. Talking about this sound, sometimes Sometimes it's so loud that when it comes into the recording, sometimes you hard time sometimes even to listen to the talk also because the sound is quite strong. Anyway, the the perception here in our samsara, we always we always see things, hear things, smell things, and feel, touch, and think. All the six types of sanya that comes from the six sense stalls. The sanya here, it's where our defilement arises. We perceive, the perception, take note of a certain shape or certain sound or certain touch, feel. We perceive it by one of the four ways. We will perceive it in one of the four ways. We will perceive it as beautiful, one. We perceive it as permanent, number two. We perceive it as pleasant, sukha, number three. And we perceive it as self, number four. Within all these four things, it makes your samsara go round and round and round. Because from this perception, the defilement arises. Because when you perceive the things beautiful, what is the next one? What do you think will come in? Then you perceive it. Then when it's beautiful, pleasant feeling arises. Pleasant feeling arises. What is the next thing? Then the craving or the attachment is there. Because we see it as beautiful. Or if you see it as not beautiful, then what happened? Then unpleasant feeling arises. Then unpleasant feeling arises, then anger also arises. Yeah. Then anger arises, then thoughts can go on now, So, or you perceive things as permanent. Or sometimes we have certain views and certain things we believe that soul or that thing is permanent. We like permanent. We like stability. We don't like things keep on changing one. You want to go into a relationship with somebody, always the person keep on changing one, man. Beta, No, you don't want that. We want stability. You buy a phone, the phone always keep on having problem one, man. You don't want that. We want a stable phone. No. So our mind somehow or another, we set in that certain tone already. And we don't realize it because it is normal to us. It's a very normal thing to us. From samsara, we carry this type of perception that we always also, in a way that we always look for pleasurable things. We don't want unpleasant. We want our life to be pleasant. We seek for happiness in life. That's what we've been taught now. We seek the type of worldly happiness. And even we know that thing, and it doesn't bring you to woeful states, rebirth in the woeful states, but it will keep you in samsara. You can do a lot of dana, but because you're happy, you like the happiness, you're reborn in a pleasant, happier planes of existence, but still in samsara. Yeah. Even the person who is able to do the jhana, he looks at jhana and so on, but he doesn't perceive the jhana whether it is permanent or not. But at the back of the mind, the jhana is like that, But he doesn't see it as non-self, he doesn't see it as, and so on. So he's still in the samsara, although it's much happier planes of existence. So the only thing that we can able to counter it, to counter the wrong perception, it's by the teachings of the Buddha, and especially on the non-self aspect. Because the non-self aspect is where uh, it makes the whole difference between teachings, worldly teachings, and what the Buddha taught, especially the non-self aspect. But the non-self aspect cannot arise if the aspect of anicca, dukkha, anatta don't arise, or anicca, dukkha don't arise. Uh, So therefore, to counter this perception, this wrong perception in our lives, that we're going through this samsara, is to able to from wrong perception into a right perception. And then that means there are 4 right perceptions also, countering the wrong perception. What are the 4 right perception? The 4 right perception is totally the opposite of what I've said just now. We see what is not beautiful, the perception of asubha, non-beautiful, the perception of impermanence to counter the wrong perception of permanence. The first one is the perception of non-beautiful to counter the perception of what is beauty. And then the third one is the perception of dukkha to counter the perception of sukha, pleasant. And then the perception of anatta is to counter the wrong perception of atta, or a self. And where do you think the changing of the wrong perception will take place? The only place that truly can change is within vipassana, because in the vipassana is all these 4 perception arises. Although the perception of anatta, the perception of dukkha is divided into 2, dukkha and also asubha, non-beautiful. Yeah. So we combine it in we call it just dukkha. Yeah. But there are 4 perception. And only in the vipassana that we can able to counter all this wrong perception. Out there, when we are thinking about the Dhamma and not meditating on the Dhamma, we are not doing vipassana. And when you're out there, no matter how you may think of it, yes. You may change certain perception, but you cannot change everything because the inner perception, the deeper ones, is not easier for us to change, because it's only you can change it through the way of vipassana. Because every insight that you see, every moment of insight that you see, it's just not only what you see there, it's because you perceive it that these things is arising and passing away. And this thing is arising and passing away, you perceive it as, at that time, perhaps you notice it as impermanent. You see things as they are. So the moment that you see it as they are, then the wrong perception is gone at that moment of time. It's just like the light is there, darkness automatically gone. There's no like, you see the wrong perception slowly pass away, oh gone. No, you don't see those things. Because you see the right perception, automatically is there. Automatically that wrong perception is gone. You see the pain pulling here, changing here, right, twisting and so on. Perception of dukkha. Because at that perception of dukkha, that time perception of sukha is not there. As you go into the deeper aspect of dukkha, then we begin to realize that the deeper aspect of dukkha truly counter the perception of sukha, not just only in the pain. Even in even that you start off with the insight knowledge of discerning of mind and matter. Even like discerning of mind and matter, you can able to see mind is one thing and movement of your body, let's say, is another thing, rising, falling is another thing. You can discern them out clearly. Because you discern them out, that perception is a perception of anatta. It's not just because you see it, but it's the perception that comes in. You see it as anatta, and that time is only two. There's no the third factor. So it's a one aspect of perception of anatta. So that perception is you begin to change. You begin to undo a lot of all our wrong perception of the past, and slowly, slowly, we begin to see the truth. What is happening there? Then, when it all matures, then enlightenment takes place. Yeah. So is it that the mindfulness is the one that penetrate this thing? Actually, not mindfulness. Actually, it's the wisdom. The penetration of mind is the investigation of Dhamma. But the wisdom here, it cannot arise if there's no mindfulness. Wisdom cannot stand alone. It needs mindfulness. But mindfulness also needs other factors like joy, effort. It needs tranquility. It cannot be like while noting and all other thoughts I keep on coming in, I cannot notice anything at all. So it needs all the other factors also to do their job. So the wisdom is the one that is penetrate into seeing things as they really are. That means whatever you see is slowly it changes our perception. But we don't feel that the perception is changed because when we go back, still same, nothing much yet. But we don't realize that it already doing its things already. In the beginning part, you don't see that much yet. As you go into a deeper and deeper insight, then you see how the perception is start changing. You slowly go into it deeper and deeper. You see that the perception will change much more stronger. Things that you see it as beautiful, or you see it as with a lot of attachment. Now the attachment is going to reduce, not to say zero, but it's going to reduce in many ways. Slowly, you will see things slowly. It will not like overnight there's change in our character. So it's the investigation of Dhamma is that one is which is the one that is discerning the thing. Okay. Now, next question. This is from this one. After intensive retreats, can yogis maintain or further develop or digress from their level of practice in the retreat if they maintain many hours of home meditation and exercise reasonable sense restraint? Again, after intensive retreat, can yogis maintain or further develop or digress from their level of practice in the retreat if they maintain many hours of home meditation and exercise reasonable sense restraint? So can or not? Let's say like you go back next week. Yeah. Then you try to meditate at home. Then next retreat you come and tell me. See whether you can progress or not. If you can progress, then anywhere you can do already. You don't have to come to a retreat center. But why do we come to a retreat center? Because we want to keep them the eyes, the senses, to be secluded or restrained from all these type of things. Now, there are some people can do it, not to say cannot. Sometimes we think of it ideally, we thought that we cannot, But actually, when you do it, not easy lah. Your fridge is there, your kitchen is there, your sofa also there, your bed also there, your computer there, your phone there, your loved one also there, maybe, all your family members also there. So it's not easy. It's not easy because there are many things you have to think about. So but there are Once in a while, there are some people can do it. Not to say cannot. Once in a while, some people could do it, but they cannot do it for long. I take a good example when you are locked down now. But the thing is that lockdown is different because lockdown that time with COVID thing, the mind very anxious one, anxiety lah, lah, vaccination lah, this lah, that lah, very 乱 one, not so easy to meditate lah. Yeah. So, but the thing is that can some yogis do it? Can some people do it? Yes. Not to say cannot, but you can not so easy for many yogis. Many yogis, you need to go away from all the things that you attach. Here, over here, there's nothing for you to attach. The moment next week you go back, you go back already. You leave everything at home. You leave everything already. So it's not easy. It can be done. You can able to maintain, even can progress also actually, but don't expect it that it can progress can be a lot or little. Well, it doesn't matter, but usually it's not that easy to progress. But you can still actually do retreat at home. Not to say cannot. For few and far in between. Few and far in between. So if you can do it, then well and good. Then do it as much as possible. But make sure that when we able to do it at home, but don't think that we don't go back to retreat again, because some people thought that I've met with some yogis, they thought that they can meditate every day at home 1 or 2 hours per day or few hours per day. Then you ask them to go to retreat, no more already. 搞了，归管了, high standard, 不了. Very difficult like that. So retreat has got its own benefit. Anyway, next question. What are the key importance and relevance on the concept of Chula Sotapanna in Vipassana practice? What are the key importance and relevance of the concept of Chula Sotapanna in Vipassana practice? What is Chula Sotapanna? The word Chula here means lesser Sotapanna. So Sotapanna to what more lesser? But it's the concept that commentary brings about, The word, the way that how we call it Chula Sotapanna, the whole purpose is this, is to see that whether the yogis has the potential to be enlightened in the future or in this life, rather than in this life. If have the potential, not means that it must, Potential here means that you must have the qualities. That means you have a certain qualities, you are born with certain qualities. Then, especially like what we understand from Abhidhamma, then you must have the third root, the wisdom root. That means your mind can able to understand, and the mind is intelligent enough. The mind can able to do some retreats and penetrate into mind and matter and so on, so something like that, wisdom root. You have certain wisdom, not just only in retreat, but in overall in the thinking and so on. There's some degree of wisdom is there. That means you're born with that root. So if you have that root, then fine. Then how are we going to know we have that root or not? Yeah. So we do not know whether we are born. We do not know. Yeah. So the commentary says that, it says that if a yogi can able to reach up to second insight, he can able to notice the knowledge of conditioning of things. That means that yogi has the potential to be enlightened. The potential is there, but other words, you still have to make a lot of effort. You got to make a lot of effort. There's no guarantee, potential only, So the concept is this, just to, in a way that the commentaries says, just to gauge the yogi, whether the yogis have the potential or not. Because sometimes there are yogis that comes into the meditate, they try very hard now, but sometimes they don't have the potential. uh. But usually I don't look into it, don't look into all these type of things. As long as the yogi is making the effort, sometimes we do not know. It's just they cannot uh, enlighten maybe this life, but they are building up a very strong foundation for their next life also. So who knows? How we can't see so far, but we know that all this effort and whatever they do is going to be helpful somewhere in the future. Yeah. Okay. Chula Sotapana. Next question. How do we apply Chitta Nupasana in cultivating and maintaining a positive mind always, a positive mind always, so that we are not easily down and can handle problems better? How do we apply Chittanupassana in cultivating and maintaining a positive mind always so that we are not easily down and handle problems better? When we talk about Chittanupassana, when you are out there, we are not doing Chittanupassana. No, just now since we are talking about this Chittanupassana, now earlier we are talking about the four perception, right? The wrong perception. In the four foundation of mindfulness, each foundation has got its own purpose. The Kaya Nupasana is the dominant overcoming of the wrong perception is overcoming or abandoning the perception of beauty so that see the non-beautiful aspect of it. Yeah. Whereas the perception, the Vedana, the feelings, the Vedana here, the strong perception is to see the perception of dukkha, to counter the perception of sukha. Then the Chitta Nupasana, the Chitta here has the to overcome the wrong perception of nicha or impermanence, because Chitta Nupasana, the prominent aspect of it is to see the impermanence. And then the Dhammanupasana overcomes abandon the wrong perception of atta, self, so that we can able to notice the anatta, the perception of anatta. So all the four foundation of mindfulness, they have all the objects of foundation of mindfulness, it got its own strength, but doesn't mean that it doesn't see other things. But the dominant one, it's very clear for that particular object. So when you say that doing Chittanupassana in our everyday life, actually we are not doing Chittanupassana in everyday life. Everyday life is impossible for us to do even Chittanupassana, Kayanupassana, or Vedananupassana, or any form of mindfulness, or any form of four foundation of mindfulness. Because four foundation of mindfulness, it has to be thorough. It has to be thorough, and what we are doing here, then only it's called in the sense of anupassana. So if you talk about chittanupassana, that means you have to notice how the mind is changing. The mind is this and this type of mind, that type of mind, and whatever that's going on inside there. That means the mind has to be thorough about the mind. Not like not just like this. I mean, it's still good, but it's not really chittanupassana. Like for example, when you're out there, then you're doing something, you feel greed arises. Oh, I feel the greed there. Then you're doing something else. Oh, I feel the joy there. I do something else. Oh, the mind is like that. This is precursor to chittanupassana, but this is not chittanupassana. You're aware of a mental formation, but you are not seeing the changes in the mental formation yet. So there's a difference. It's a precursor, it's a starting lah. But everyday life, can you see all the things are changing inside the mind? Not so easy. So you cannot call it Chittanupassana. Don't dilute the word on Chittanupassana. Or Vedana-nupassana or Kaya-nupassana. Not like, for example, some people say, oh, I go to the park, I do a bit of jogging, and I notice how my step, oh, I do Kaya-nupassana. Boleh meh like that? Cannot. You cannot. You are diluting the words. You are diluting the words, Uh, this is not how you notice. If not, might as well, you are sick, or you are painful, then somebody go and congratulate you. Oh, you are seeing the dukkha nupassana right now. You cannot, because it's so painful. You're not able to. You having dukkha, but you're not seeing dukkha nupassana and so on. You see what I mean here? Even you feel the mind doesn't mean that but doesn't mean that it's no good. It's still good if you can able to feel it. Now, in order for us to able to use the mind to prevent a lot of unwholesome and to keep our mind positive and so on, that means both sides of the mind, wholesome and unwholesome, you have to acknowledge it also. Don't acknowledge that you want the happy ones and then the unhappy ones, you just want to cover them. Cannot do like that. In our world out there, when we are out there, when we are having greed, we have to acknowledge that the greed is there. There's greed in me. Or if you're angry, you know that it's anger in me. Then when you're able to recognize their characteristic in that sense, then only they will disappear. If you because when you look at them, this is anger, then the back of the mind knows that this is karma and so on and on. Then we don't want to to hold on to that state of mind. We want to let it go. So so in the world out there, when you're aware of the different states of mind, wholesome or unwholesome, that is very good for you. But this is not Chittanupassana. This awareness of the mind only, but not Chittanupassana. So if you do like that long enough, you notice your state of mind, then it's very good. Okay, next one. Please share some info whether there will be any Vasa closing ceremony on Saturday, 8th of October. Or do we have to take our own 5 precepts on Sunday and leave after breakfast? Why so kanchiong, yo? Why want to go back already? We talk about this on Monday. We're not going to answer you. Go and meditate first. Thinking about going back already. That's it for the night. Idang me bawanang nibbanasa pachayo hotu. May my mental cultivation be a condition for the realization of Nibbana. Imang no punya bagang sabba satanang dema. We share these merits with our departed ones, with all beings and all the devas. Sabbe satta sukhi hontu anumodantu. May all beings be happy. May they rejoice in these merits. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.